At 1:47 in the morning, a masked man walked up to a home in the Catalina Foothills of Tucson, Arizona, and disabled the doorbell camera. Seconds later, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie vanished. No footage survived. No phone moved with her. No witness saw what happened next. But investigators say something inside Nancy's chest kept recording. Her pacemaker. For 41 minutes, that device tracked fear responses, movement patterns, and what forensic cardiologists later described as possible signs of sedation. And, according to investigators, those recordings may now be one of the most important pieces of forensic evidence ever used in a kidnapping case. Because the man who turned off the camera may not have realized the heart was still watching. Nancy Guthrie spent the evening of January 31st, 2026, having dinner with her daughter Annie and Annie's husband Tommaso. Nothing unusual was reported that night. Tommaso dropped her home at 9:48 p.m. The garage door closed 2 minutes later. That was the final, confirmed, normal moment before the abduction. Roughly an hour later, her pacemaker data showed a short spike in heart activity. Not severe, just enough for forensic specialists to later flag it as a possible stress response. Then everything settled again. Until 1:40 a.m. That is when the cardiac patterns changed dramatically. Investigators say her heart rate elevated suddenly and remained elevated, not the gradual rise of someone waking naturally. Something sharper, something acute. At 1:47 a.m., motion was logged at her front door. The camera system did not save footage because there was no active cloud recording subscription. But the motion trigger itself was recorded, and in that same window, a masked man approached the property and disabled the device. Blood spatters later recovered on the front porch were confirmed through DNA testing to belong to Nancy Guthrie. Investigators believe she did not leave voluntarily. Then came the 41-minute gap. No cameras, no calls, no witnesses. Only the pacemaker data remained. According to forensic cardiologists who reviewed the data, Nancy's elevated heart rate remained sustained for an extended period after the camera went dark. That matters. A brief scare usually fades quickly. This did not. Investigators say the prolonged elevation was more consistent with ongoing distress. Then another layer appeared inside the data. Modern pacemakers contain accelerometers designed to detect movement. Normally, they help regulate pacing during physical activity, but in this case, analysts use that movement data in a forensic context. What they found raised new questions. The movement patterns reportedly did not resemble normal walking. Instead, specialists described them as more consistent with passive transport, the type of motion associated with a body being carried or moved inside a vehicle. Nancy Guthrie may not have walked out of that house at all. And then the data shifted again. In the final minutes before the pacemaker lost connection with its home monitoring unit at 2:28 a.m., investigators observed a flattening in heart rate variability. According to independent forensic analysis discussed publicly during the investigation, that pattern can be associated with reduced nervous system activity, including possible pharmacological sedation. The FBI has not officially confirmed sedation. But investigators reportedly began examining whether a controlled substance may have been used during the abduction. Which raises another question. Why would someone arrive prepared with that level of planning, unless Nancy Guthrie herself was the target? Weeks later, investigators revealed something even more unsettling. The masked man may have visited the property before the abduction. Earlier surveillance footage reviewed after Nancy disappeared allegedly showed the same individual near the home on a previous occasion without a mask or backpack. Investigators believe he may have been studying the layout and identifying the camera position before returning on February 1st. The FBI then launched one of the most unusual searches in recent memory. Because Nancy's pacemaker emitted a low-power Bluetooth signal, federal agents used specialized signal sniffers mounted on helicopters to search areas surrounding Tucson. A former Marine and cybersecurity specialist also built his own custom detector and joined the effort voluntarily. But the technology had limits. If Nancy was underground, inside a building, or inside a shielded vehicle, the signal could disappear completely. Still, investigators believed the pacemaker data offered something critical: a timeline. Analysts estimated vehicle movement may have begun 15 to 20 minutes before the signal connection ended at 2:28 a.m. At highway speeds, that created a search radius stretching roughly 12 to 25 miles from Nancy's home. And one direction drew particular attention: south. The pacemaker data was not recovered from the device itself. Nancy's home contained a wireless monitoring unit connected to the manufacturer's cloud platform. Every transmission before the connection ended remained preserved on remote servers. The FBI later obtained that information through federal legal process and brought in cardiac specialists to analyze it. Meanwhile, other evidence continued to emerge. A glove recovered approximately 2 miles from Nancy's home reportedly contained male DNA. That profile was entered into federal databases for comparison analysis. Then, in early March 2026, a SWAT team detained and questioned 37-year-old Luke Daly and his 77-year-old mother at a Tucson area property located near where the glove had been found. Daly's attorney stated publicly that his client cooperated fully and was not responsible for Nancy's disappearance. No charges were filed. Investigators have not publicly established any confirmed connection between Daly and the physical evidence. But the investigation did not slow down. Nancy Guthrie has now been missing for more than 100 days. No arrest has been made in the abduction itself. The masked man, seen approaching the house at 1:47 a.m., has not been publicly identified. But investigators still have the pacemaker data. They still have the DNA evidence. And according to reporting surrounding the case, the cloud monitoring system connected to Nancy's implanted device remains active, meaning if that pacemaker ever reconnects near a compatible medical system, investigators could know instantly. At 1:47 in the morning, someone tried to erase the evidence by shutting off a camera. But for 41 minutes after the house went dark, Nancy Guthrie's heart kept recording.